Hey guys, Q here, and this is a video for how to defeat the failed experiment in Final Fantasy VII Remake on hard mode. You are going to want magic builds, so for Barret, you're actually going to want to give him the EKG cannon, and you want to make sure he has a headband, because they can be put to sleep in the second phase of the boss fight. Also give Barret the chain bangle. That'll be kind of important during that same phase. And Tifa, you want to give the mithril claws and of course the headband as well. You don't want anyone falling asleep. For materia, you do want to give Barret an elemental materia and an ice materia. Now you're going to make sure that both of them have the steadfast block and the healing materia. We are going to be casting regen during the waves of enemies before the boss actually shows up. Of course, 2 HP materias, 2 MP materias. Now you're going to kind of split the difference with magic attacks, so give Barret 1 magic up and a revival materia just in case. Hopefully you won't need it, but just in case. Tifa's materials are going to be exactly the same. However, you do want to make sure one person has Shiva equipped as their summon. I suggest having it on Tifa, just because it tends to work better that way in case Barret dies during the third phase, and you'll see why. Alright, so when you go into the fight, the waves of enemies before the boss actually shows up, we are going to use them to gain limit break. Now this is a bit frustrating, because unlike the Rude and Reno fight, where once you get to the part where you're just sitting around gaining limit break, you've basically won the fight. This one, you got to gain the limit break before the fight actually starts. So if you do fail something later on in the fight, you do have to do this again. But this is the strategy that I found is most duplicatable, and basically getting him into that that last phase before just going ham. So just get control Barret and stand in the corner and block. Cast regen on him. I usually suggest having Tifa cast regen just because she has a higher MP pool. But have Tifa cast regen, and then just sit here and block. You can cast regen on both of them actually if you want, because Tifa, obviously she will get hit occasionally, but I suggest doing Barret first, because the third wave is quite a pain in the butt if you're controlling Barret. So for the first wave, once you get down to like 2 enemies or so, Tifa's about to take him out, and the second wave will start. Second wave is virtually exactly the same. Now 2 enemies will stay up on the walkway there, and hopefully they'll both come over and attack you like this guy on the left is, but the other guy for some reason just stayed far away, so he's not getting hits off on you, and all it does is just makes it take a little longer for that limit break to come up. But again, just stand and block. Once Tifa takes out all of the ground enemies, go ahead and just shoot the other guys with Barret to get into that third wave. I was an idiot here. I should have just used overcharge, and I forgot that I'd switched up the strategy and gave Barret a ranged weapon as opposed to a melee weapon, which was my rough draft of the strategy. But he's got the EKG, just uses overcharge. Now the problem with the third wave is that the game is going to try and prompt you to have Tifa hop over the railing to get up to the walkway. And if you're controlling Barret, it will automatically switch you to Tifa. And that is the frustrating part. So that's why one reason why I suggest getting Barret's limit break up first during the first 2 waves, so that you have less of that BS during the 3rd wave coming up here. And again, technically speaking, you probably only need Barret's limit break, but I suggest getting Tifa's limit break up as well. It just as a just in case, more reliable for that final phase. Another point here is that the 3rd wave, the limit breaks will actually raise further. You see that it automatically switches you to Tifa, and you got to switch back to Barret. It's quite annoying. So as little time spent during this 3rd wave is better, even though they actually gain the limit break faster. But you only technically need Barret's limit break. But Tifa's is great for that that final phase, where we're basically just going to be going ham on the boss. Now, once Barret's limit break is up, switch to Tifa and do the same thing. Again, just make sure to cast that regen and make sure that they're blocking. For the first 2 waves, you can even just tape down your block button for a few minutes. As long as you just cast regen occasionally, you don't even need to have the controller in your hand. However, this phase, when you're controlling Barret, it's you do need the controller in your hand. Alright, so now that Tifa's both of their limit breaks are full, usually if you switch to Barret, it'll just get the heat off Tifa. Then you switch back to Tifa and jump over this rail. Now, for when the failed experiment actually shows up, the timing is going to be kind of precise. But if you do it right and be patient with it, you're going to get him into the final phase pretty quickly, as well as hopefully make things a lot easier if you time both your magics and your limit break well. So as soon as the failed experiment shows up, switch back to Barret and run in between the 2 piles of the shipping containers. And you're waiting for him. He's going to jump to demolish. You see that demolish? Once he's in the air, pull up Barret's spell menu, and you're going to cast Blizzaga right about the time his feet hits the walkway. More particularly, you do want to make sure that he's casting Blizzaga on the failed experiment, not the appendage. Tifa, on the other hand, is going to be casting Blizzaga on the appendage. But you do want to delay that cast until he starts standing up just a little bit from that demolish animation. And if you get it right, both of them will hit and push him directly into the next phase. So we're kind of looking here again, we're just watching to try and wait to see his character model start standing up a little bit. Tifa casts that Blizzaga, and if you timed it right, both of them will hit and push him directly into technically the final phase. Now, this final phase is a pain because the unknown entities will become immune. So you want to take them out as quickly as possible. As soon as you gain control, cast Barret's limit break on the failed experiment, not the appendage. The idea here is that you will hit as many of them as possible before they become immune. And I got really lucky here. I got every single one. Now, if you miss 1 or 2, it's not a problem. But as soon as you do that, get that limit break off, have Barret take some damage. Now, you're going to see me cure Tifa. We don't want Tifa to die, but this is why we kept the revival material. We want Barret to get into critical HP, so that summon gauge shows up. And then now we're going to heal back up, and we're going to summon Shiva as soon as we can. This is why you wanted that revival. In case Barret does die, you'll still get that summon gauge, but Tifa would have to arise Barret. Now, I forgot that Shiva only required 1 ATB charge, so I was waiting for... Oh no, I was just waiting for the gauge. She only requires 1 ATB charge. And here is the turning point. We've been playing very strategically up to this point, but once you get Shiva out, go ham. Use Tifa's limit break on the appendage, and try and focus on using Shiva's ice attacks. Anytime he uses an ability like that Fury, use Heavenly Strike. Anytime he uses Livewire, use Heavenly Strike. Now don't use Heavenly Strike if he's not using an ability. If he's using an ability, he'll stand still long enough for her to get it off. If he's not using an ability, he might move out of the way and you won't get the attack. Whatever you got to do here, use Shiva's abilities, use magic, use limit break, whatever you got. And of course, Shiva's going to have an ultimate attack at the end of this as well. So you can see I didn't even need that. So once you push him into this phase and you use Barret's limit break to take out as many of the other enemies as possible, you should have it in the bag. Hopefully you don't have too much struggle with this and you're not just constantly having to redo the fight to gain those limit breaks back. But I found this to be fairly pretty well duplicatable. It's actually just the last phase that can be a little hairy sometimes, but if you just summon Shiva and then go ham with whatever you got, you should be able to take him out. Well, that's it for this one, guys. I got a good one next. I just forget what it is. But until next time, I'm the Strategic Gamer, and I hope it helps.